Insane in the membrane.
It's just like two fellas having a chat in a pub.
Yeah.
It goes wherever it goes. Sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes we go pretty dark.
Yeah.
A lot of the time we go light-hearted, and I think that's that's the thing with mental health or people. Because I said this just now. People oh yeah, I listen to your podcast. Well, it's not really about mental health. No, you're not listening to it, are you?
Yeah.
Because it is. People talking about their experiences.
Yeah.
Regardless of what those experiences are. Mm-hmm. That's how people help. That's how you get help dealing with your mental health. Listening to other people's experiences. Go, oh yeah, I've been through that. Oh shit, yeah. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a talker.
Yeah.
I talk about I just, almost to a fault. I just can't. I can't shut up sometimes. I sometimes give a. I also think things through as I say them. It's just been my way of working through stuff. So it's not so popular anymore because you actually are supposed to have your opinion formed before you voice it. And I find myself saying things and then either immediately or even like a day later going, oh, that's actually not what I think or not what I mean. And but it's too late. Then you've said it.
You're the first person that said that, and it's so true. There's been loads of times when I'm halfway through, I'm like, I don't really think this. Why am I saying this?
Yeah. I think it's good to hear these things out loud. I think that's why people go to therapy, because you can actually listen to yourself say things out loud and work through ideas by saying them out loud and go, actually, no, it's not what I think. Because when you actually voice it, it becomes reality and not just a sort of amorphous thing in your head. And I live with Kerry Marks, the comedian, for 10 years in 3 different places. We developed a communication program that generally was revolved around us making each other laugh and looking for angles on jokes and coming up with a premise and then trying to find every single angle on the joke, just for no other reason, just to amuse ourselves. And we didn't have a TV. And one of the things we talked about all the time was lounge room philosophy, which is sort of has some crossover into mental health, because philosophy, your life philosophy, is where you are victorious, whether you survive victoriously or whether you fail yourself by not living up to your own ideas. And so we would talk about things. We would argue. We take devil's advocate all the time, and actually really go for it and go, actually, that's even if the other guy was saying something you totally believed in, you go, nah, it's bullshit, mate, and go for it, really go for it, allow the other person to go for it and not be offended, not get upset about it. And I think there's a sort of form of self-discovery when you do that.
I think so. That's one thing I've learned from doing this.
Yeah,
is I've discovered what I believe, and being open to learning as well. Like at the beginning of the beginning of an episode, I'll think one thing, and then by the end, I'm like, oh yeah. Being open to that kind of, oh yeah, I get it now. Yeah, open to change, And but I've known you many years.
Yeah,
and you're right. You are an open book.
Oh yeah,
I think on the times we spent together.
Coloring book.
It's definitely fun to read. I'll give you that.
It's a join the dots. I'm still trying to figure that one out. I was thinking that Billy Connolly line. Billy Connolly talks about someone having pimples on their bum. He goes, "Join the dots, make a picture, win a major prize." But no, I actually have developed this. I don't know if I think a lot of times we develop ideas to rationalize our behavior in the past, so which isn't healthy. That's how you go, well, that's what I think. I think this. That's why I did that. But it's almost like excuse making. However, I have found this way of thinking that does rationalize my behavior, but in an honest way, I think. And that is that I'm not a fan of certainty. In fact, when I hear people being very certain, they turn me off. So people that do self-help, big self-help groups, and people that are very adamant about their opinion and know everything, know the facts, and I just think actually most of what we know is just learned from other people's opinions, books, and I mean that is how we learn. But very few people can actually say, I have experience in this, and this is my opinion. And too often we don't listen to those people. We listen to the people that just have an opinion based on what they've read about other people's opinions. And we all know what's happening these days, how that can go, because some people just put out absolute horseshit and fools believe it. So, but I mean, it's always been the same. It's the snake oil salesman. It's the beginning of the Wizard of Oz. It's the finding the the water of life, the water of eternal life. We're all looking for the same thing, which is how do we maintain our dignity?
Yeah, man. Oh my God. So, but I remember seeing your show at the Soho Theatre a couple of years ago, and that again was such an honest show. And it was a side to you I'd not seen before, even though you and I spent time together.
What, me being honest?
But you were... No, but
fuck you, Rich Wilson.
No, but this was next level. Because the show was about you and like your brother.
Yes.
And your brother having that near-death experience.
Yes,
and all the things you were... And I just sat... I just saw a different side to you. This thing that you'd gone through.
Yeah.
You know, and it was spectacular.
So just so for people that are listening, the show is called You're Wrong, spelt Y-O-U-R, because that was one part. It's one of the things that kicked the whole thing off is when you're losing an argument on the internet and you get your spelling wrong. It doesn't matter what your argument is, you've lost, and it just that's crap, totally crap. Yeah. But anyway, but You're Wrong is sort of me looking into I was raised in a very devout Christian family. So for the first 14 years of my life, did not know that there was anything other than that. And so didn't even have an opinion on anything like that. Couldn't have even thought outside it. And then suddenly realized by listening to The Clash, realizing I could sneak, I wasn't allowed to listen to secular music, so I could sneak album covers out of the house and replace it with The Clash's Sandinista and come home and put my headphones on. But the album cover, like the Phil Keaggy Resurrection Band album cover on the side table and the Clash's album, and then turn it up. My mom would think I'm listening to, Jesus rock, but I was actually listening to God rock. But because and it formed a lot of my opinions. And of course, I did typically what any teenagers do. I rebelled and went completely the other way, and I ran away from home. And then in the middle of all that, my brother had a very serious car accident. My brother, who I looked up to and loved, 6 years older than me. And I despised them all for it. Really, I mean, it's taken me a long time to we have a very loving family, and they're not hard on me at all. They're really, really forgiving of me, and they do live up to their own ideals. That's why I love them. I just don't necessarily share their dogma.
No,
I share their belief system because I believe we should love one another and we should be forgiving, but I don't believe the dogma behind it. So
that's such a key point. Is in all religions there's that peace and love and goodwill to all men, and we should all love each other and all that. But it's the fucking bullshit that people, that the human beings manipulate it to benefit themselves.
Well, they need it, don't they? Human beings need the ceremony of something. We make up our own belief systems. That's what the show is about anyway, Rich. It's about how we all develop our belief systems, whether you think the earth's flat or whether you think that we have psychic abilities, whatever, you could be a vegan, whatever your thing that holds you together is really important to your faith is really important, whatever your faith is in. And that's what the show was, me coming to terms with through a funny story about Stevie Wonder, my brother being brought out of a coma because of his love for Stevie Wonder. Not his love for Stevie Wonder, his love for Eddie Murphy's impression of Stevie Wonder. My brother used to do like the head wobble thing, which at the time we just thought was funny. He was only a young 20s and I was a teenager. He used to make me howl with that. Now it would probably be seen as being racist, which it's not. It was just, but when my brother was in the coma, they put on some music for him after he was deeply into the coma and didn't look like he'd survive it. His fiance at the time, who was just this young woman called Janet, played some music. They put some music on to try and drown out a guy in the next room who was having a really hard time, actually. And it was Stevie Wonder randomly. And Stevie Wonder, and I mean, I use the song Superstition because it fits the theme of the show, but that was the one that my brother would generally go into, doing Stevie Wonder. And that's the first time he moved in 6.5 weeks, as he sort of wiggled his way out of a coma doing the Stevie. And then they turned the music off and he went back into the coma. And then the doctor came in about an hour later and went, well, you got to remember what you're doing. And then Janet was going, well, I was holding his hand, talking about the church picnic, and then we're playing music. And the guy went, that's it, it's the music. So they put Stevie Wonder on a loop, full blast, 24/7 in his room. And 3 days later, he wiggled and jiggled his Stevie Wonder's way out of the coma. And I'd forgotten all that. Because my brother survived it and then rehabilitated, and he was going to be a vegetable, but because of the love of his fiance and the support of the church and the community and my family and all the Christians that were supported him, he rehabilitated and ended up three or so years later, end up proposing to Janet and then having a little baby girl, and then another little baby girl, then another little baby girl, then another. So now he's got grandchildren, 13 of them. So, and at the time I was like, at the time I thought I was begging them to turn the machines off, and I didn't want my brother to be a vegetable, and I was as a scientist, and I was the one that didn't believe in God and went, nothing's going to happen. There's no such thing as miracles. They don't happen. It doesn't work. And I'm not saying it isn't. I'm not saying it was a miracle. I'm saying it's better than that. It's the natural state of, as science can explain this, but it's the magic of reality in this hard, cold reality. That the human brain can rewire itself, and that my brother, through his love of laughter and comedy and music, rewired his brain. But then again, that maybe that's what God is to them. He is maybe laughter, love, and music. I don't know, but that's not. So anyway, that's what the story was about, and it was me, whatever, 17 years later, being at the Glastonbury Festival, off my face on magic mushrooms. And the lights come up on, I'd lost my friends, the lights came up on Stevie Wonder, and as they started singing, that memory, which I'd suppressed through shame and self-loathing, because I didn't want to ever admit to myself that it just sort of slowly faded away. His children are all grown up and adults and have their own children, and it hit me, the whole thing, the whole memory came back like out of nowhere, almost in a repeat of what it might have been for him, but. So that's not, I don't think it's a miracle, but you could see how that would be a miracle. And then I make fun of it, saying Stevie Wonder's on a pyramid and there's a light coming out of the sky and the rings of Saturn. I mean, it all ties together, but it's more about, I tried really hard not to come down with an opinion. And I think it's probably true for me in general. When I hear myself being opinionated, I hate myself for it. I did it last night. I was in a pub and we were talking about Dave Chappelle, and I was going, oh, fuck that. The fucking guy, he's just, what's he doing? He's a political commentator. He's not a comedian anymore. And the minute you take a political side on something, you're not a comedian anymore. Right. Comedians aren't supposed to have political opinions. They're supposed to have their insights from themselves and epiphanies. If you take a political side, say I'm on this side, I'm a right-wing comedian, I'm left-wing, fuck you, you're not a comedian anymore. Yeah. You're a political commentator that tells jokes. There's a difference.
We were talking about that on another edition. Yeah, exactly that. We're talking about Chappelle, and I'm saying, look, I don't think that he's transphobic at all. Listening to what he said. And then I'm like, but it's exactly that. It's like when you watch South Park, they do everybody. And that's what you're supposed to do as a comedian. You're supposed to comment on everything. Don't take sides. You're kind of just going, like you say, you're commenting on everything. But
well, you're supposed to. I think comedy is quite a simple thing. It's just been lost in the mists of time. But Aristotle, who designed the definition of comedy and tragedy, which I studied for, and his ideas were that comedy makes fun of inferior people. Now, technically, that sounds like it's punching down, but then he went on to say that it's there's no such thing as an inferior person, but everyone's inferior to other people at certain times. So when you do something like, if a man trips over a paint can and gets paint all up his back, he should be made fun of because it's an inferior. And the reason for doing it isn't to make fun of him and to make him feel bad, but it's to pull him up and say it's all right. We've all done that, and that's why we're able to laugh at it. And I think we're losing touch with that a little bit. But then again, as I'm hearing myself say it, I've already said when I have those opinions about it, I go, well, what do you know? I can talk about comedy because I've got experience in it. That's about the one thing I can discuss freely. But when I found myself in the pub last night going, Dave Chappelle, I actually rang the guy I was arguing with and went, I'm sorry about that last night. I didn't mean any of that. I was being really opinionated and standing my ground, but I was doing it in the same way I used to do with Carrie, where I'm going to stick to that argument because I want to make that other person question themselves. And then through it, I realized I don't really care what Dave Chappelle does or says. No, I'm not. I mean, it's why do we have to have an opinion on everything?
But this is it, isn't it? And then and we can't have conversations with people with different beliefs and different background. Like it's this thing. Because there's people I know that they're Tory voting people, but I've known them for years.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I don't agree with their beliefs, but
sure.
there's enough other stuff for us to be friends still.
Yeah.
But we're not allowed to have those conversations. So now you have to pick a side.
Yeah, pick a side.
Yeah, and
it's really weird, isn't it? Because I think about what we've been given with this, with social networking and the ability to have the answer to any question at the end of our fingertips, and it's actually turned us into really binary things. I thought it would have the opposite effect. I thought we'd suddenly become, we want to look into what are all the options here, and actually no. You have to do this, and these are the options. There's no option. This is what I think, and also the idea of politics used to be that I can kind of see where you're coming from, but I think we should maybe do it this way. No, we're doing it this way, not your way. And it's kind of had the opposite effect of what you think it should have. That more knowledge is actually will be disastrous for mankind. Yeah. And to be biblical about it, it is the story of the Tower of Babel, but in using knowledge and technology instead of language. we don't understand each other anymore because we don't get it.
No, and like you say, we're becoming more insular. Weirdly, when we have so much, it's all out there in front of us. Like you've just said, it's there. All the stuff's there, but you're choosing to, almost put up barriers and go, no. This is it. And you go, but look at the things.
I know, and obviously, I mean, I learned this. Or thought this really early on, is that the books that you enjoy and the music that you enjoy and all the stuff that you enjoy when you're young, you think this is the best. AC/DC sucks. The Jam are the best band, right? Yeah. And it's cut and dry because that's what but you don't realize that the reason you're attracted to the Jam is because they say and do things that reaffirm the things you already think. Yes. And AC/DC at that point weren't doing that for me. If you're a little bit more minded about it, you realize that, well, there must be a reason all those people like AC/DC. And as you get older and you get your tastes change and you become a little more fair, you go, actually, they're not a bad band. And I know I didn't listen to it then, but now, do you know what I mean? So if you could just do that immediately, then you wouldn't have that problem. If we just teach people to think that way immediately, then you go, well, maybe there's a reason why Dave Chappelle feels the need to say those things, but I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. The other thing is, all I want to do as a comedian is make fun of anything that takes itself too seriously, and I think he's taking himself way too seriously. He's
irony.
He's a big bald bully.
Right. Yeah.
and come at me, David.
Because he listens to this.
Yeah, he listens to this. Can I just say, just to anyone who doesn't, just look at my hands. But Dave Chappelle supported the Cork to the Juice Pigs at the Montreal Comedy Festival, so he used to open for me, mate.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Look at me now. Maybe I should be more opinionated. Maybe we get me further. I was talking to Kerry about this the other day. This is what has happened, though, is people that are really successful in the genre that we're in, podcasting or in social networking. These are people with really strong, strict, unshakable opinions, and people need that kind of leadership and go, I think that too, and they get behind the person, and then suddenly you've got podcasts and YouTube shows where you're going, what are these people talking about, and who's supporting this, and how does this get anywhere? And you realize it's just because they stick to their opinion. They've got a strong opinion. Yeah. We'll stick. So maybe we should do that right now, Rich. Let's make an opinion about something. Let's make an opinion.
I'm really easily swayed. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I think that, and the next person will be the opposite. Oh
yeah, I can see the point. I think that's probably why this podcast is successful then, because you
don't take sides.
You don't take sides.
No, not taking any sides.
We should start a political party, the Don't Take Sides party, and then go, yeah, that's all right actually. Tax the rich. Yeah, no immigrants. Yeah, we'll have immigrants. Yeah, we'll have some immigrants. Let's have some immigrants.
The Vegas fuck party.
Vegas fuck. Yeah, the Vegas party would be great. We could have Mark Silcox as our prime minister. By the way, Mark, I'm sorry, I'm not saying you're vague, Mark. I'm so sorry. That's horrible. Mark, forgive me.
Imagine Mark as the president.
Yes.
No one would know what was going on. Is he serious?
Not even prime minister. Make him a president of the UK. Mark Silcox for president.
Oh, let's do it. Let's get some merch done. Oh God. But going back to your show.
Yeah.
And you already touched upon it. Talking about when your brother was you know, really, and like you say, you were like going down the science route, going, look, there's no coming back from this.
Yeah.
We've got to switch it off. We've got to just cut this off. And I remember in the show, you like you just touched on it, just saying about how the guilt just eating away at you.
Well,
have you spoken to your brother about it?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at the time when I was doing it, I was only about 19. I'd only been away, gone to acting school because I was getting real. And so I thought, you got to grow up and be real here, Phil. So I went to acting school to pretend how to pretend. And I wasn't really that. My parents at that point, I was still very much a boy and their son, and so I couldn't really argue with what I saw as being their personal, their superstition about this thing, that there was going to be a divine intervention. There was Christians praying for him. There's 200 people a night used to meet in the church basement, for weeks to pray. And I've said to other people, like, well, it must have had some effect. I'm like, well, maybe for the 200 people. I mean, you've been to concerts with 200 people. You get the atmosphere created by people at a gig is electric. So, I'm not going to deny that it's not going to be good for someone, but whether it can actually help, but maybe that gave my parents energy. Maybe that gave Janet energy to go in every day. Maybe because of that energy, her holding his hand and speaking to him helped. I mean, so it's scientifically, there's a reason why that does work. And when you see all the people going around the thing in Mecca, and you think, well, they're all there thinking we must be doing the right thing because everyone else is doing it, so it must be right. Their energy must be charged, and I don't mean like psychic energy, I just mean like their physical energy of people doing it. Yeah. So that's kind of what I've come to think, because once he came out of the coma, I was like. Then I was just like constantly trying to help him and poke him and make him laugh and stuff like that. My mom's, like, it's a miracle, and they treated it, and still do to this day, treat it as such. Right. But it's not, miracle is a funny word, I think. But yeah. So I as the years went on, and then he got married and had children, I think was what I did, I think what people do when you're wrong, which is what the show is, when you know you're wrong, you hate being told you're wrong. My mom said you're wrong to me, and I was furious. It's like, I am not wrong. He is going to be in a coma. You may as well put him out of his misery, please. Like, yeah, I don't want to see my brother like that. And he was such a vibrant, wonderful, amazing guy. And then, as I started to realize he's coming through this, he's getting through this, I just slowly suppressed it. I think we all do that. You push it down, you hide it away in yourself, and I think a lot of times, even when we know we're wrong, it's really hard to admit that you're wrong. It's really, really hard thing to do. Yeah. It's a saving grace in couples when they can actually turn to each other and go, I'm really sorry, I was wrong about that. But it so rarely happens, because it's just human nature not to want to. You can hide it somewhere in your system and not deal with it, or even, I think even worse, convince yourself you're not wrong, which is where it starts to get a bit weird and narcissistic. Yes.
Definitely. Narcissism. Fuck me. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we as comedians, we fly close to that. We are Icarus to the sun on that one, because you have to have some confidence or some kind of ideal about yourself to give yourself the confidence. Usually driven through insecurity, like the way that psychology is kind of works with it's the law of reversal, isn't it? So yes. If we're so insecure that we need to be in front of people to make sure they all know we're not insecure. But so anyway, to answer your question long-windedly,
no, that's great.
I just forgot about it.
Yeah, all right.
And just years went by, and it just became, my brother's fine, and I'd forgotten I'd said it. Really, yeah, right. It wasn't like I'd never even said it to him. And then that night at Glastonbury, which in the show is my, I've been to every Glastonbury since 1990. It's my spiritual home, wow. And I'm not hippie, but I very much believe in that kind of humanist. It's a very humanist festival where people look out for one another and genuinely try and care and talk to each other. Yeah. If only the world could be like that all the time, right? Yeah. What a come down. But what I mean is, when I went and I rang him the next day, and said, I'm at Glastonbury. He's like, oh, good for you, mate. And I was like, I saw Stevie Wonder last night. Oh man, that's brilliant. I was like, I wanted to just apologize, and I kind of tried to explain to him what had happened, and he was like, I was like, I'm really sorry that if people had listened to me, I was wrong, and I mean, he just went, oh, that's nice, Phil. He went, well, as long as you've made yourself feel better. And I was like, you asshole. Here I am trying to purge myself of this horrible thing. And he's going, well, and I was like, what? He was, well, then the thing is, he doesn't really remember any of it because he wouldn't. No. And Janet, his wife, doesn't really talk about it. And my mum and dad, I can't speak to them about it really because my mother gets really emotional about it, which is fair enough, I think, and that was how it ended. I was like, so I'm at Glastonbury, like sitting in a chair drinking a cider, and I'm, what are you doing? He's like, I'm folding nappies, like he's just like, like it couldn't be more perfect. And the thing is, that's at that point I didn't think, oh, this would make a great show. It wasn't until a few years later, and I just started putting these ideas together. I want to talk about faith, about what beliefs mean, like what you have, what your beliefs mean, and why you hang on to them. Under moments of stress, you become even more assured of them.
No, God, yeah.
So when you see these horrible floods and wars and famine around the world, people need to hang on to something. They hang on to each other, and they hang on to that belief of whatever it is that has brought them there. So that's kind of what that show was about, really. Without banging over the head. And the great story is, on the very last night of Edinburgh, I did a really nice run at the Monkey Barrel, sold out the show, and had great reviews and really well reviewed show. That Janet, just coincidentally, because I have a whole strand of synchronicity through the show, the Jungian idea that things happen, they don't happen for a reason, they just appear to happen for a reason. Then we put that reason together. But Janet was there with her brother Stephen at my last show and sat in the very back. She just happened to be in Edinburgh.
Wow.
So I did the show and then was able to say, I didn't tell her I was going to do it. I said, and at the end of the show, everyone was applauding. So it was a standing ovation. And I went, and the woman I'm talking about, Jan, is here, coincidentally. And other coincidence, I was also filming that night. So I've got that all on film.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
It's mental. And I got her to walk up. She just put her arms around me and went, don't embarrass me, Phil. Don't embarrass me.
Mate. So, that's beautiful, that is.
So if that doesn't round an idea off, then I don't know what does.
And I think it's, I mean, you've experienced all manner of shit over the years, like extreme highs and incredible lows. Yeah, man. I won't go into detail, but
they're usually, usually, I think with a lot of people, they're usually back to back.
Yeah,
it's never like have a bad period and then come out of it and then it kind of it's like bad period, really good period, or really good period, really bad period.
Yeah.
Why?
It's such a drop off as well.
Oh my God, it's the worst.
And every now and again you go, I'm just fed up with picking myself up again.
Oh man.
And then you're in the high, and then when you're in the high, you kind of like you forget to look around you for a minute and go, this is fucking cool, because it was shit last week.
Yeah.
And then, it's going to be like this forever. Whoa. And you go back down again. And
Well, I just sent a thing to Milo McCabe, who was recently on your show, because I was listening to the episode. And I was like, really, first of all, really nice to hear his real voice, because he's been Troy Hawk for so long. I forgot. I forgot he actually sounds like a real human being. And then, but he's like, he just had hard things. And I just thought, well, actually, right now, everything's a bit of a roller coaster. But it's not one that I want to get off of at any time soon. So that's a positive.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there are people, I have been, and I'm sure other people right now, maybe even listening to podcasts, who think, I can't handle this roller coaster anymore and I want off of it. And you can't get off you can't do that. You can't derail yourself like that. You've got to live with the low. The low bit means you're going to go to the high bit, which means you're going to drop off the low bit. And I mean, that's a pretty inane analogy, but I think you know what I mean. Maybe,
I do know what you mean.
Maybe let's try and and then at the end, it kind of all levels out.
Well, this is the thing. It comes up a lot. There isn't a destination. That's the thing that people go, oh, I can't wait to get to that bit.
Yeah.
Because they're never going to be fine. You go, no, because then there's the next bit. and then the next bit, and then there's all these stations all the way along, and then one day you just run out of stations.
Yeah. Oh, well, you know, like my brother, not to go on about it, but one of the things that he survived all that, and then every once in a while I'll go and meet him, and he'll go like, oh, I'm just really depressed. I'm like, how the fuck can you be depressed when you've just been given a whole life, when you've just been given the whole life?
Yeah.
But the thing is, that's just life, isn't it? Because even when you've been given the whole life and you think, I shouldn't even be here, you still think, oh God, it's just, you know, feelings are, I always thought feelings are pain. I broke my arm when I was young. I broke it in 3 places. I was playing baseball because I'm, you know, pretty cool like that. And because I'm Canadian, dude. Dude, totally. And I was playing, but I dived to catch a ball, put my arm out, and the guy was running in from behind me. The outfielder stepped on my arm as it hit the ground, snapped in 3 places, and a horrible pain. And like nothing I'd actually felt at that point before. And the doctor was when I got into the hospital, the doctor was like, well, if you think of it this way, is that if you squeeze when you're in pain, pinch really hard another part of your body, usually like pressure point, like between your thumb and your forefinger. But because pain is actually your friend, you know, as long as you're feeling the pain, if it goes numb, that's when you're in trouble. Pain is your body is being made to deal with pain, and when it gets too much pain, your mind will take itself out of it, or you'll go numb and your nerves cut off. And that pain, then I started thinking of pain as like sense, and then, you know, that you rub your fingers together. That's just a really mild version of pain. It feels pleasurable, doesn't it? You give someone a massage. So sometimes you go, oh, it's too much. But the rest of it feels so. Pain and feelings are the same thing. So you can't have one without the other. So to be alive means you're suffering pain.
Wow.
Yeah.
You don't think so?
True. You don't think so?
I do. I believe you. Yeah. I'm with you on that one.
You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I can see why fetishists get into it. Like you go a little slap on the bum while you're doing it. It's quite a nice little thing. But it gets to a point where you're going, hit me!
Someone driving a van at you.
Exactly. You put on one of those big suits and have like security dogs knock you down. I can't come without this. I can't come without this. Oh my God! Yeah. What have you done, mate?
Oh no!
I feel alive. But
there is the people that self-harm, and it relieves the pressure.
Absolutely.
And there's someone I know that they do it, and I say to them, how you been? And they're like, yeah. And they show me they got like an app.
Yeah.
They can track their progress, so they can see how much time has elapsed between each episode.
Wow. Okay.
And then they're going like, oh yeah, no, I've been all right for a while. And then I'll see them again.
Yeah.
And then I go, shit, I had a relapse.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, yeah, but the gaps in between the relapses are getting bigger, so you're still doing it. But that I never understood how hurting yourself would make you feel better.
Yeah, but yes, okay, Rich. But I'd hate to be your therapist here, but you just don't hurt yourself in that way. I've been with you when you are technically hurting yourself, or if we're using my idea that pleasurable thing is in a sense a bit of pain. You ever go to a festival and just completely do yourself in?
Yes.
Or not you, but other people who drink themselves to an early grave. It's actually a very slow form of the same torture.
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
Or is it? Maybe go, I'm not hurting myself. And you convince yourself, people drink till they're in their 90s. But no, you're an alcoholic, mate.
Yeah.
Not you.
No. But there has been, but I know what you mean. There has been times when there's a reason why I'm drinking all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go, and it's not alcoholism. I'm trying to numb something. I'm trying to stop something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But isn't that maybe like that? So the pain of putting a scar. I've never done that I can remember. I've thought about hurting myself, of course. I don't know if you're a healthy adult and you haven't. But maybe there are people that just drift along, go, no, I'm totally fine, never thought about it, and I just think they're weird.
I know. I've met a few people that go,
no,
really? Never.
You're definitely going to hurt someone.
Yeah, you need to go and do something.
You need to go and do something. Yeah, definitely. I was thinking when you can talk about the app, about the self-harming app, I thought just like an app that reminds you to self-harm. Oh, it's ding, 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 ding. Oh, sorry, I'll be right back.
Yeah. Oh, that's
sorry.
bad. Well,
Sorry. If there are any people that before I've triggered you, but yeah, I mean, all those things are all tied into the same. It's quite simple psychology the way I'm describing it, but it's the need to feel something. Yeah. And maybe when you're in so much pain, like the same way that the doctor told me to squeeze that bit, maybe that does relieve the other pain, the mental pain, the anguish. Yeah, is what it is, because you've got to concentrate on the thing you've done right there and then. And maybe that's when people, consider suicide, is because they can't think of any other way to quell the pain.
Exactly.
You can't think of any other way to do it.
No, and that's
And I'm not a doctor, but I have been in therapy for many years, and the way to do it is to pinch another part of yourself, and whether that's through creating things, writing things, singing things, or actually just going to take judo classes or join a martial arts course or lift weights, whatever it is. That because people that lift weights put themselves through a lot of pain, and I live across from the Virgin Active gym, and I can see right into the gym, by the way. And I'm that creepy guy lives across the road. Hi guys.
Those people hurting themselves.
You look great in that yoga mat. Anyway, but the thing is, I've been to the gym myself. Sometimes you just really hurt yourself, and when you're sore, it makes you feel good. But that's where those people need that. Otherwise, they'd probably be mental cases.
Yeah, mate. But but talking about that with the suicidal thoughts, and it's come up before, and I the first time someone said that to me, when they said, well, a lot of people, not everybody, because some people do it, they go through with it, but they said a lot of the time you just want the pain to stop, and it's your brain saying, yeah, if we just do that, and then we'll just get on with our day, we'll come back after we kill ourselves, and then that'll stop that, and then we can come back and we can get on with our day. And that's what you want. You just want. I mean, I remember the reason I started counselling this time was because I was walking back from where I live. There's a Tesco, and I was walking back, and you go through the woods and along the canals, and it brings you out through where I live, and there was a bridge, and then under the bridge, the river was like a dead end, and then under the bridge, and I went, if you go under there, you could just do it, and then if you leave your phone in the flat, so no one knows where you are, can't track you, you go under the bridge and you undo it, and I'm like, shit, I need to go and talk to someone. Yeah. Because I'm actually thinking about, I'm planning it now. Yeah. And that worried me. But it was because I was hurting so much.
But that is, I mean, if you are starting to think about it, I mean, the woman that used to live next door to me, she was fantastic. She suffered Crohn's. She had Crohn's disease, so she's kind of had a, that's a big thing. That's a life condition. Yeah. She had dedicated herself she was on call, so she was 24/7 on call, and she would go and talk people down, talk people out, talk people, not just on the phone, but in real life. So she'd be the kind of person that the police bring in to go to the end of the bridge and go, okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. And she was trained to do that. So it didn't happen a lot, but it's like a fireman. You don't want it to happen every time you go out. But she was always saying to me, I was talking about another friend of mine, and she was saying, as long as that friend of yours is continually talking about it, they're less likely to be on the verge. She goes, if for some reason they start going quiet, or you realize a change in their behavior, or they stop talking about it, that's when you should get concerned about it, because that's when it's gone inside, and then and the thing maybe we were talking about earlier on, as long as you're voicing it, you can actually hear yourself saying it and go, well, that's irrational. You should never do that. So I think talking is good. I think if we go away from anything from this from the podcast, I don't really know not even sure. I don't want to get into why you want to do the podcast, but I'm sure there are people that take a lot away from it, or just like to know that there are other people out there that a lot of us thinking the same things. We don't voice it very often because everyone wants, especially comedians, they just want us to be funny and happy and, hey, make you think of that, which is what we're supposed to do on stage. I'm not going to say, like, that's a whole different, that release is a whole different thing. But most of the comedians I know, and it's a cliche, have deeply tortured things going on. Yeah. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this came from, funnily, I mentioned it on Milo's episode. This came from a conversation that I had with Milo. I'd just been up and I'd had counselling or whatever I was doing. And he asked me in a green room, he goes, how you been? And I actually told him, it was truthful. And I went, I'm having counselling. And he went, what? You are? I went, yeah. And started talking about it. And then he started telling me about stuff.
Yeah,
and it kind of came from that. And then, and I do this podcast because, like I said at the beginning, I want people to realise that they're not on their own. That all the things you're thinking, someone else has thought them. Everyone, there's nothing that you've thought. There's going to be someone somewhere that's thought the same thing.
Sure.
You know.
Well, that's why I for a long time I was embarrassed about it, and it might be because of the way I was raised as well, as that that the therapeutic element of Christianity or any kind of deep faith is that it's already inbuilt into the faith that there's a someone to speak to, because you can just like lie in your bed and go, please, and you're having a voice that's not you that you can plead with is actually probably not an unhealthy thing, really, technically, because it's like, almost like the voice of reason is like, well, that's not good, you shouldn't do that. So maybe that was a more ancient ancient form of therapy or something like that. But I've had such a good experience with, over the many years I've relied on going to talk to my therapist, and I've been with the same person for a long time because we just have a really good, I just really like what we've done together. Yeah. And the tools he's given me, I highly recommend it. And I've now highly recommended it to people. And it was a comedian called Donna McPhail that put me onto it. Because I was having a really hard time coming out of my failed marriage and the Juice Pigs falling apart all in the same year. It was absolutely the most horrendous thing. Losing like 7 of my closest friends, not that they passed away, but they were all involved. People that were involved suddenly went from having a Hollywood career with, development deals with Disney, auditioned for Spielberg, married with a dog, living in a house in Toronto, all in front of me, all, 30 years of age, money in the bank, everything I could ever ask for, made it. And then it disappeared within months. Shit. And I don't think anyone could really be expected to know how to cope with that. No. And on top of it, my background was my parents were supportive of me, but they didn't really understand what it is I was doing. And I don't think that they were very supportive at that moment of what was happening, because I think they thought all my choices had been wrong. Yeah. In case my mom and dad listen to these things, so if you are listening, they are supremely supportive people, and they have at one point I took them to the Ivy once when I was in One Flew the Cuckoo's Nest, and I was on stage every night with Christian Slater in a West End show, having fulfilled my dream as an actor to the highest degree that I could think of. And took my mom and dad to the Ivy. My mom wouldn't order anything expensive. She wanted the shepherd's pie because it was the cheapest. My mom's Scottish. It's the cheapest thing. Save your money, son. We don't want you spending They're surrounded by like television stars in the Ivy. And my mom didn't know any of them because they don't watch that kind of thing. But they put before the food came, they put the knives and forks down to say grace, and I was like, that's a little embarrassing, but I'm in the Ivy. So there's my dad saying grace, and he opens his eyes. He says, your dad, mum, and I would like to apologize to you. I was like, what for? And they went, because we didn't really support you the way that we thought you should have been supported. Now, looking back, that you were always going to do this, and maybe if we'd supported you more when you were younger, that you might have been more successful. And I went, what are you talking? Well, I'm buying you lunch in the Ivy. What do you want from me?
You did all right.
I'm doing okay. It's all right.
It's fun.
I've survived it. But those months following the 7 years following me moving to England to escape that bad situation with the juice pigs and everything, it has shaped my character beyond all the other stuff and all the acting school and all of the Disney, all the experience that I had and going around the world. That the depression and the downside of it and the work with a therapist is the thing that's made me, had more to do with making me into who I am now, which is I have time for people because I understand when people, I try not to get upset when someone acts like a shithead or does a stupid thing, because I think, well, you've got to, you don't know what their circumstances are. No. You don't know what they're dealing with. You don't know why that person's just flown off the hook and gone, called someone a bitch or done something stupid. And we're too quick to judge people. And especially with social networking, careers are destroyed because of something someone said. You don't know what's going on for that person at the time and where they're at. And I think it's much more complicated than that. We should be more, and then I feel my upbringing come back. We should just be more understanding, compassionate, and forgiving if we can.
Yeah. Do you find so when you brought up very religious? Yeah. Background.
It was the Brethren Assembly, which are like the Mennonites, a cross between the Amish, the Mennonites, and the Quakers. They're in that group of very quietly devout New Testament Christians. So they're not Baptists. They are Baptists, but they're not like happy clappy. Yeah. They're not evangelistic in that way. Same way.
Fuck, man, that sounds pretty hardcore.
It was quiet, yeah. Well, when I first moved to Canada, we went to the Bendale Bible Chapel, and for the first service, I went 5 times a week to that church. And the first service on the Sunday, there was 3 of them. Was the men would sit on one side of the room, and the women sit on the other side of the room with veils on. So we look at sort of modern Islam and think, oh my God, how can they ever do that? Thinking it's not that long ago that we were doing that. We were subjecting women to that as well.
Yeah. Do you remember the day when you went, I don't know if I believe this? Or did you always have that in you?
No, it was. I saw it coming. It's when I turned 13, 14. It was just because I started to hang around guys that were listening to cool music and secular music, and my brother Andrew was kind of into it as well. But I think it was my. I just discovered punk music, I guess, or I guess it was the Jam first, if I'm really honest. Probably, and there's a little embarrassed, but like maybe because I was in Canada, remember? So the things we didn't get English music, British music the way we did, but I really got into it. So like I got into two-tone music and the Specials, and then of course went back into proper two-tone and ska, and I went through Joe Jackson, kind of led me back through Louis Jordan, all that stuff. So all those things. But I was still a virgin. I didn't drink, I didn't smoke till I was about 21. I went through acting school. I drank a little bit at acting school, but I was still, even though I didn't believe any of the stuff, it's still the residue was you don't need to be drunk to have a good time. look at me now.
That's quite the turnaround.
This is water, Mum. It's water.
having been lucky to have been in your company.
Yeah.
On various occasions. Yeah, you fucking turn that around. Jesus Christ.
Well, what is Glenn Wool's line about cigarettes? They bring me closer to God. It's because it takes 5 years off your life.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's funny when you, like you say, you've been brought up a certain way. It's still in you. But there's certain you sort of pick the bits that you go, actually that works for me.
You know what my theory on that one is I think that those are common sense attributes for a relatively wealthy, well-adjusted human being. As of course you care about if a pregnant woman gets on a bus. If you're a healthy, well-adjusted person, of course you're going to stand up because that could be your partner, that could be you. Yeah. And as long as you kept looking across at people and go, well, that could be me. So I think compassion is one of the things we're losing grip on in the modern world. Even since I was younger, I could see the world is being driven hard to the right. It's like we're stuck on being driven to the right, and right-wing mentality tells you don't have to care about the other person unless it has some effect on you. And I mean, I'll probably get taken up on this. I'm sure Leo Kirsch will write and go, that's not actually what it means. But anyway, what I mean is, I think those are common denominators that it's not right or left or Christian or non-Christian. It's just a healthy healthy state of being to be a human.
Yeah.
Part of being human is we're herd animals and we should care about each other.
Yes.
We're not predators. We shouldn't be predatory if we can. I mean, obviously, our brains, our sentience allows us to dabble in dark arts, and that can sometimes lead people astray. But I think that because of the way I was raised, I had a really great example at home. Everyone loves my mom and dad. They're really loving, kind, generous people who live by their beliefs, and I respect them for that. They're not hypocritical. They try to do the least amount of harm possible. And if more people would adopt that way of living, then the world would be a better place. And that's what they think. So I agree with them. I agree with them on that. I just don't.
I do. Yeah.
I just don't believe the dogma.
Well, this is it. I remember I did the Alpha course about 20 years ago, because I just thought, well, I don't know the Bible, so I'm going to go and I'll do a course, and then it will teach me about the Bible. So I remember doing it, and then and I sort of sat there with the people, and they were all very nice people. And then you start to go, yeah, I get it now. When the people say that sense of community, like you're a part of something. Like you said, we're herd animals, so it was quite nice, all on the same level, learning the same thing. And then one week he said, next week we're going to do miracles. And I'm like, that'd be interesting. So then the following week I get there and he said, right, okay, let me tell you about a miracle happened to me. We wanted to buy a house. We didn't have enough money. And then a distant relative that we didn't know left us some money in the will.
Yeah. And
we got our house paid for and blah, blah. Yeah. And I'm like, is that a miracle? Yeah. I mean, a miracle is if you lose your arm and it grows back.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I can't, but it made me question that. I was like, that's a bit too human.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It's when, but at the same time, my mind went off on two tangents there. First of all, you say community. So I always think community is comedy, communication, there's something common. It's in the etymology of the words themselves that join, things that bring us together, and we perform. We are. My parents wanted me to become a preacher. They wanted me to go to Bible college and be an evangelist. And I was like, and I said to Mom, but I am. That's what I do. I stand in front of people and I tell them how my little humble thoughts on how I think they might be, what I've learned on how to try and help myself, make myself better, or what I think I've done that's wrong, so I can, so you don't have to do it or whatever. Isn't that all that those people are doing? They're just using a book of rules to express that, whereas I'm just creating my own. So, the idea that, I lost track of what you were saying, but the idea that we do need to be with one another. Yeah. And my all through my parents' life, my father has been gives, and does things and gives things. And then they do come back because other people, they'll then go, well, Ian needs something, and he's obviously a very generous man, so he's a good person. He's not going to hoard it and keep it for himself. He's going to do the best thing. And I think that's kind of a socialist idea. Maybe. I don't think my dad considered himself socialist at all. In fact, he was a huge George Bush fan. I don't know what. He's a good Christian guy, I guess. I have no idea. I mean, what's happening in America right now is that Donald Trump's a Christian. Are you fucking serious, you guys? Come on.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so they get abused. People with the simple belief, they get abused and taken and used by the opiate of the masses, as we all know. So anyway, yeah, I think the idea of having a community, we go perform in front of like 400 people of a weekend, and they all go there for the same reason, to have some kind of quasi spiritual relationship to other people in the room.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why no one likes a heckler. No one likes a heckler.
Exactly.
You're fucking it up for all of us.
Yeah, you haven't got the courage to get on stage and do it.
Exactly.
You don't get to shout from the shadows, you dickhead.
Yeah. But then again, we don't know what he's been through that day, right? We don't know.
Oh, that's how we have. Yes.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Are you hurting? What's going on?
Yeah. What's your therapist saying?
Oh, dude.
Here.
I hear you, brother.
Has your app just gone off? Because I've got a knife.
Let me help you with that.
Stick this in your eye.
Yeah, you'll feel better.
Yeah, pain is suffering. Suffering is pleasure. Enjoy.
Anyway, back to this. But yeah, we're talking about quasi experience. Experience. When I saw you in Jamie,
oh yeah,
I just. Did
you get a little hard on?
Yeah.
Get a little boner?
Dude, I've seen you perform. We worked together loads, but I've seen you do that was just mind blowing. I genuinely went, fucking hell, that is amazing.
Can I just be clear for anyone that doesn't know that everybody's talking about Jamie is a musical about a boy that wants to wear a dress to the prom, and in that musical I play a drag queen and come out as Loco Chanel. That's why I said, did you get a boner? It wasn't. Was I so great in it that you got hard?
It could go either way. I think it was a mixed boner.
Okay, my mom's listening. Stop it.
Hey, Mum. It was incredible. You must. When you already did One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which was already, it must have been a sensational experience for you. Yeah. But to do Jamie, where the amount, I'm not just blowing smoke at your ass, the amount of people that have told me how you just stand out, you just absolutely nail it.
Oh,
man,
thank you, man.
That must have changed you. That experience. Do you think?
Yeah. I mean, it's been 4 years I've been in and out of that show. I really didn't think that I could. Well, maybe I did. I just thought. I battle the insecurity of thinking I've never quite succeeded, or that I'm a failure, and failure in I've never. Well, I mean, if I think about it, I've done all the things that I set out to do, but it's just never quite enough. I'm sure I'm not alone in that. So doing the musical Jamie, which was also like just a brilliant, amazing piece to be in.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was locked into, but because of my relationships with other people around involved in the show, I was able to auditioning and secure the part. It just gave me a confidence about just staying true to myself, what I want to do, because I felt myself getting dragged into this showbiz world that you and I both live in, where why I'm not on Mock of the Week, I'm not on that, and I realized I don't want to, never have wanted to be on those things, and I was doing it because I was fulfilling an industry standard, and I don't believe that there should be an industry standard when it comes to creating comedy as art, as a obviously you want to be a crowd pleaser, and if you want to go and tour bigger places, then that's all PR. But PR is not comedy, and being on a panel show is not comedy, and stand-up comedy is really quite simple contract. It's me and a group of people having a conversation where their part of the conversation is to laugh at the things I make them laugh at, and if I'm successful, we all go away feeling good about it. Does that boil it down easy enough for everyone? But so in that sense, I'm not a failure, because I know I can do that. But Jamie, on the other hand, gave me a feeling of I've always wanted to be a stage actor, because of my upbringing. I never wanted to be on TV. I never wanted to be a film actor. That wasn't. I actually used to think film acting, TV actor. This is really shitty now, but this is what I used to think, that they're just a bunch of posers. They basically hit a mark, then turn and go, that's what I think, and they just and then a cut. Okay, we'll do it again. Relight it, and then you got like 40 other people could run around make you look good. Whereas stage acting is, you've got to play the character from the beginning of the play to the end of the play. I'm looking at my bookshelf, just seeing all these like Shakespearean plays. To play King Lear on stage there's no role in film acting or TV acting that could ever replace the feeling that's going to give you.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying they can't be as good storytelling wise, but for the actor, which is me, which is most important, that's all I ever wanted to do. And comedy has been a good substitute for that for me.
Yeah. Man, honestly, just seeing you. When you first stepped out as the character? Yeah. When it's the big reveal. Yeah. And you come out in your garms. How did you feel that first time? Did you feel? Yeah. Well, must be all manner of emotions, good, bad.
No, it's absolutely terrifying. Yeah. This is one of the most terrifying things I've done. You're not allowed to be terrified at that level. All the people that work around me in the West End are just so good, so talented, and so confident. And I'm sure they all have insecurities, but they've made it there through merit, and they own themselves. And that's something that I think I've learned over years of going to therapy is to actually, if you can just it's not being arrogant. See, part of my upbringing is you're never allowed to be arrogant. You're never allowed to step up, be too big for your boots. So and it was constantly about, you're not allowed to say that you're good at something. You just, because it's not you that's doing it. It's for the worship of God, or to the honor of Christ or whatever. And so you never really just to let yourself go, no, I'm actually pretty good in that.
Yeah.
And it's only been the last time I've been in Jamie 4 times, and it was only in the last time, believe it or not, even though I did it for 9 months at the beginning, it's only in the last 10 weeks I actually started thinking to myself, I'm pretty good in this, actually. So
it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and now I'll never get to do it again. Fucking assholes. Yeah. Hey, wait, I think my app just went off. Hold on. Where's mine? Self-harm myself. I think but what we're talking about is actually mental self-harm is just as violent and just as vicious and just as hard to get a grip on as physical self-harm. So if people that are doing physical self-harm, at least they can see the mark and they can track themselves. There's an app for it. Is there a mental health app that you can put in? Maybe there should be. Maybe there is. Maybe you should have one. Maybe this podcast should create one where every time you find yourself talking badly about yourself to yourself, you hit a button and just at the end of the week look at how many times you've done it and then try and decrease that number.
Fuck yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
I like that.
It could be your face, Rich, and the button could be one of your eyes.
Oh, I feel better. different parts of the face.
Oh, hello. Parts of the body you were going to say, right?
I meant face.
That's a different app, mate. That's a different app.
It's OnlyFans. Oh, God.
I'll look after the app, don't worry.
Oh, here he is. Here he is.
Producer Paul. Phil, this has been great, man. I really appreciate you coming on. It's been a long time coming.
Thanks for having me, Rich.
Yeah.
And well done on just sticking with it, continuing with it, and making it happen.
Thanks, man. And we will always have Evil Blizzard. I tell people that all the time. I tell the story.
Bass, mate. The bass, mate.
They had 4 bass players.
The bass.
We were just whacking it. What a fucking time.
You played the bass, mate, with Evil Blizzard.
What you can't. That's it. That's the pinnacle. That's it now.
Yeah.
I'm done. Phil, where can we find you online?
Well, listen, I've got a new podcast myself. It's songsinthekeyoflaugh.com.
Nice.
And we've got 4 episodes out. Our next episode has got Tim Minchin, the ones after. I don't know when this one's coming out. So anyway, cool. Songsinthekeyoflaugh.com. It's a comedy podcast about musical comedy and comedy songs. It's a lighthearted podcast and it's a bit of fun. It's not comedy. It's not irritatingly funny. It's just gentle and nice. And then I've got philnichol.com if you want to find out more about me and where I'm playing and what I'm doing. And I'm starting off. I'm in a panto this Christmas at Stratford East, playing yet another Queen. I'm playing Granny Hood. So I'm straight back into tights and high heels, I think.
I've got that boner again.
Yeah, there you go.
Mate.
Bring your kids this. Oh no, don't do that. Oh, wait a minute. That's not what I meant. I wasn't even trying to be funny. Please, I'm not.
Hey, Mum.
No.
Oh, thanks, Phil.
And we've also got one more thing.
Go on. Yeah.
Got the Cray Cray Cabaret at the second Wednesday every month at the Comedy Store with the same guy that I do the podcast with, and it's a comedy cabaret show every once a month at the Comedy Store. So come and check that out.
Cool.
The Cray Cabaret.
Is this like the one you did in Edinburgh? Nah.
Yeah, similar to that. Yeah, different band. This one's got David Timms and the Biggish Band.
Nice.
We on our very first night we had Dale from Amy Winehouse's band come and step in and play bass. So we had it's a pretty happening band.
Mate, I'll need to come to that. I'm gonna come see it.
Please come see it.
I will. Phil, thanks, man. This has been a real pleasure.
Thanks, Rich.
Thanks,
Love
mate.
ya.
Love you too. Thanks,
See you, man. Take care.